Welcome back to the channel. I have my blow mold Halloween tabletop lantern here with me, keep me company. So I want to explain what Vintage Classic Solutions is. In my channel, I just explain what a lot of things are, a lot of antiques that I love, a lot of vintage things and art pieces that I love, and I explain what they are, or what they mean to me. So now I want to explain to all of you what Vintage Classic Solutions is. So I fell in love with antiques at a young age, probably about the age of 7 or 8. I started collecting. I loved antiques, antique toy cars from the 30s, vintage toy cars, the older the better. Comic books, the older the better. Baseball cards. This is all around the age of 7 or 8. And then, you know, antique stores to me were like museums that you could go into, look around, and then buy something. You know, you could buy something like a marble for $1 or $2, or something, you know, expensive like some kind of fancy vase. So I wanted to do that, and as life progressed, you know, I met antique dealers, and this is like the early 90s or late 80s. They were saying, brick and mortar stores are done. There's no more. It's a dying career, you know. So it's kind of discouraging hearing elders talk like that. And then in my teenage years, I found music. You know, when I was around 14, I found music and my bass, and that took me around the world. You know, I was a jazz major in college, studied classical music, and then I got in the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra in 2001, and you know, and then I was projecting to just play full time wherever the bass took me, and it took me around the world. And during that whole time of living in China and touring and being everywhere and playing with everyone, it was amazing. But I always kept my eye open for antiques, no matter where I was. If I was walking around, when I was in China, I learned how to say, you know, take me to the antique market, to all the cab drivers. So I'd always check out antique markets everywhere. So my eye just got accustomed to seeing so many old things and fake old things that helped me detect, you know, counterfeits or fake antique items from China and India. So music took me around the world and put me in various spots. I played in a lot of museums, a lot of modern art museums. I played countless performances in contemporary art museums throughout China and their blossoming contemporary art scene. This is like 2004 and through 2015. But all the while I kept my eye on antiques because it was a passion of mine, but I was so focused on music that I just followed my music. You know, I never thought about, you know, opening up an antique store or anything like that. It was just on the extreme back burner of my mind, antiques and vintage. Even though, on an interesting side note, around the year 2010 in Shanghai, China, a lot of vintage stores popped up. It's what we call an antique store in America, in the U.S., but in China, an antique is like 1,000 years old, where in the U.S., it's kind of like around 100 years old. So a vintage store was the name of it. And they popped up, and they'd have vintage American items, and there'd be some Russian items, and some Chinese items. It was really interesting, but they're really expensive, because they were downtown and very boutique-like, you know, hip city centers throughout Shanghai. So the items were expensive, but it was great to go there and be like in almost like an American-style antique store. And then one of my last steady gigs in Shanghai, China, before I moved back to the U.S., back to Ohio. Believe it or not, there's this really sweet Chinese lady. She's really pretty too, and she had this restaurant, but it was themed, get this, as an antique store from America or Canada. So she had she knew someone, so she had like crates of antiques from, I think they're from Canada actually, from Canada, but there was American ones mixed in, like Auburn rubber toy cars, Disney stuff, pottery. I mean, just your typical, you know, Main Street antique store. So that was an amazing experience. Me being in, you know, on the other side of the world in China, performing, you know, this great jazz trio, and and being in this antique store, like looking at like old Sun Rubber toy cars that I used to collect. I'm like, oh my God, and bottles. And the lady was really nice. She even gave me an antique bottle on my birthday when I was playing there, because she knew I loved antiques, and she's like, this is for you. And I almost want to cry, because it was like an antique. I still have it. I love it. It's a British bottle. It's soda top with like where the plunger is stuck in the bottle. I forget the name of those. It's the only one I have like that. So that was an amazing kind of experience, being in China, but yet I'm in an antique store in small town America or Canada. So when I moved back to the U.S. in 2015 with my family, I had a wife and kid at that point. I knew in a small town where I moved to, I couldn't play music. The market's too small. So I friends and family said, work here, work there, do this, go there, do that. And I didn't know what to do. So I always did music on the side, but it was never enough to support a family. And antiques, I just thought I could never even get that going enough to make anything, let alone pocket money. So I did a couple things. I tried like corporate life. I didn't like it. I worked for a really famous, good company for 4 years, and I was super good at it. I worked in sales, and then I turned around and taught how to sell, I taught the new hires how to sell. But I hated it. It was not cool. I didn't like it. It just felt like someone was like, the money I earned felt weird, because I've always been a freelance musician. So having a paycheck every week felt weird. I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. It felt constrictive. I don't know how folks do that. I think it's like a talent that folks have to tolerate that, because I couldn't handle it. So I tried corporate America for 4 years, and I quit. And then I went right into eBay. I'm like, you know what? I ignored everyone. I just said, you know what? Everyone shut the hell up. And I just focused I did what I knew. And that's antiques. I knew antiques. I could walk into thrift stores and spot something that's valuable and rare, where other folks were walking by it. And I thought everyone was seeing these things, but I guess they weren't. So I started buying these things, and I didn't jump in with 1 foot. I jumped in with both feet. So I have a house, a mortgage, I have a family, got cars and stuff, but I also have confidence in myself. So I quit my day job, knowing that it's possible. I moved to China with $500 in my pocket in 2004. I could do anything, right? That's my attitude. So I quit the day job. Everyone thought I was crazy. Everyone thought, I'm nuts. Why would I quit a good job? That's it. I'm going to lose everything. That was the attitude. But I didn't. I worked really hard, and I'm still working really hard. It's not easy, but I'm happy. I'm more busy now than I was at that dumb day job, but I'm way more happy now. I feel I'm more healthy. I lost a ton of weight. I was feeling aged, sitting down. The body's not designed to sit for 10 hours a day and be at a desk or on the phone or something. So my antique is my hustle. I'm always moving around. I'm always driving, searching antique malls. If you hustle, you know what it's like. You go to everywhere and anywhere in between to find the treasure, right? And that also fuels my channel. That brings me to the channel. So at first I started doing, I had a YouTube channel even way back in China. Some of my old bass videos. It was just kind of like just something to throw up there, no big deal. Let's see what happens. And then I have all these items, and I buy and sell, and I sell, but I also collect. So for posterity reasons, I want to get some of these items on film and talk about what they are. And by posterity, I mean for my kids. When I die one day, they're gonna have all this crap. I lovingly call it crap. My treasure, they're gonna have to deal with it. And at that point in their lives, they might be into these antique and vintage items, or they may not. But I at least want to help them out with what these items are. So, that was the premise of my channel, was just to talk about these things that I have. My bottle collection that I love, my antique toy cars that, from my childhood, baseball cards, just things that I love, or things that I know other people love, things that I think are gorgeous and aged very well. So I started just throwing these things on my channel as a document, right, for myself and for future generations of who gets my stuff. And then I started getting subscribers, and I'm like, what? Because I had this channel for like 11, 12 years, I forget, and some bass videos, and I had like 2 subscribers maybe for 10 years, over a decade. You know, nothing happened. And then all of a sudden I was getting subscribers. I couldn't believe it. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And the more folks I got that tuned in, the more, you know, it motivated me to like just, you know, just refine my craft with YouTube, because I love YouTube. When I lived in China, it was a window, you know, to wherever you wanted to see, because over there you have to deal with a great firewall, blocks the internet, various portals of the internet. But I found a way with a VPN to get in. And YouTube was a great resource. And I think now with YouTube, you know, as a professional musician, when I was a kid in the 90s, a student of jazz, if you wanted like a VHS of, I mean, anyone, John Coltrane, Weather Report, Ray Brown, you had to go to some obscure music store and it cost like $75. Now it's all on YouTube for free. So you young musicians have no excuse to not be amazing. So go practice. So that's my channel. That's me. I'm EJ. This is Vintage Classic Solutions. There's going to be a whole lot more to come. So thanks for checking in.